This is WSFA TV 12, Montgomery.
The Tonight Show will be joined in progress immediately following the WSFA TV News special report, Power, the Shocking Shortage.
There's going to be a long time before there's any coal being mined. Unless this works, unless people themselves want to voluntarily conserve, we're going to be without electricity in this state.
Now, a WSFA TV News special report, Power, the Shocking Shortage.
Sykes & Kahn's Country Mall is Blue Jeans USA. Get new jeans, blue jeans, more top-quality jeans than you've ever seen at a lot less than you'd expect to pay. For guys, there's Sedgefield, Wrangler, Levi, Liberty, and Lee. And for gals, Lady Wrangler, Levi's, Fancy Props, and Rumble Seats. Get boots and shoes at Blue Jeans USA. All your favorite brands and all at lower prices. So come on out. Pick some pairs today. Jeans and boots at Blue Jeans USA. That's Sykes & Kahn's Country Mall on US 231 at Pine Level.
Question: of Montgomery's 6 banks, which is newest? Answer: Exchange National, 4 years old. Question: which is smallest? Answer: we'll be nice and just say it's not Exchange National. Question: which has the highest growth rate? Answer: Exchange National. Why? Because we're the locally owned bank that treats customers like our success depended on it. Come see for yourself at any office of Exchange National, the Success Bank.
Everyone in your family will look their best for Easter with these great values from Volume Family Shoes. Ladies, see their fashionable dress styles that will complete your Easter wardrobe beautifully. Dress pumps and wedges in assorted styles and colors are discount priced from $6.97 to $16.99. And your little girl will look pretty as a picture wearing new dress patented shoes or bouncy dress wedges now priced at $3.97 to $9.99. The Volume Family Shoe store nearest you has all the savings now, and Easter's not too far away. Come by Volume Family Shoes today and let them help you look your Easter best.
The longest coal miners' strike in the nation's history is going to force some mandatory power curtailments in Alabama as early as next week. The news came from the governor's office this afternoon, and WSFA TV was there live.
It has been decided that orders will be written Monday to place into being at the President sometime next week. The mandatory cutoff of 2 hours sometimes during the day of the power to residences and to commercial businesses. Plan 3 is moved up to replace, Plan 3 rather, is moved up to replace Plan 2 for the simple reason that the situation as agreed upon by all those present is more critical than many people realize. And therefore, unless we start sacrificing and saving some at the present time, we may well be out of electricity in this state for the use of all. Exceptions to this plan, of course, are those that provide safety and security for the people of our state, and also those who provide health services to the people of Alabama. This plan is going into effect, and to those people in this state who may think that there's no emergency, you're going to wake up and find that there's even a greater emergency than you might imagine. We still call on the people of Alabama as of this moment on to conserve in every fashion by cutting off every unused light and electrical appliance. For unless we do, we're going to find the situation is going to work much hardship among many people in this state during the coming months. And therefore, this mandatory phase of cutoff of 2 hours, sometimes during the day, approximately 2 hours, which will be staggered in different parts of the state and determined, of course, by those who provide the electricity. I hope people realize the seriousness of the situation in this state, because we have had a meeting with a number of people who have a tremendous amount of employment, with all groups, economic strata, and therefore we know, and I believe the people will know, that this is indeed a serious matter. Well, phase 1 and phase 2 and then phase 3. But we are moving phase 3 up to phase 2, which means mandatory cutoffs next week, instead of waiting, going through phase 2 and getting to phase 3. The voluntary conservation efforts, according to most of those who produce electricity, has provided only about a 3% savings, and that indeed is not enough. If all the voluntary conservation was put into effect that could be put into effect, they say that 20% could have been saved and we could have avoided the mandatory phase 3, mandatory cutoffs in phase 3. This idea came up, of course, with those who produce and I suppose some who use, but the power company, the power company submitted a plan to the Public Service Commission some time ago, and they accepted it. But we're just moving phase 3 up to where phase 2, which means mandatory cutoffs first.
Moving phase 3 ahead of phase 2 doesn't mean that we'll not be asking the 20% reduction. We'll be asking for that too, and I'm sure we'll be getting good cooperation. But I think the emergency that's facing all of us today, and in view of what other states have had to face, we could not see prolonging waiting around till we got to the 35-day level to implement phase 3, and I think that's what the governor's speaking to.
Well, the governor's going to issue the order.
Will this supersede the order of the Public Service Commission?
No, it will be really, in effect, placing into effect phase 3 of the Public Service Commission's order at the present time instead of waiting later.
Elsie, there's something in your dishwater.
Oh, that's my Dove for dishes.
Dove?
With muscle.
Mild Dove puts muscle in dishwater?
Sure, because now I've got 50% more of my best grease cutter.
More grease cutter?
That's what gives the dishwater muscle.
Wow, Dove really cleans.
And the scent smells so nice, too.
That's what I call being nice and strong.
Stronger Dove puts muscle in your dishwater.
We make it easier at City Federal. We make it easier to save.
Dad, what's a savings and loan?
Well, son, it's just what it sounds like. It's a place where people like us save money, and then they loan out our money to other people.
They do? How do we know we'll get it back?
Well, first it's insured by an agency of the federal government for up to $40,000. But what's more important is that money goes for mortgages, so people can buy homes.
Is that how we got ours?
Sure did. From City Federal, the place where we save our money, too.
That's where I got all those dividends, right?
Right. Since City Federal specializes in savings, they can pay us more.
And that's how you got rich, right, Dad?
Sure, son.
We make it easier at City Federal. We make it easier to save.
It will not be put out as to when the cutoff will come during the day. It'll come at different times in different sections of Alabama, and no one will know.
Is there any particular reason?
Now, the only people who might know are those who own emergency equipment involving their health in their homes, which are being ferreted out and being informed.
Governor, are schools going to be affected?
Well, the schools will be out beginning Monday for, I believe, how long? 1 week.
How about the University of Alabama and Auburn?
Yes, everybody will be affected. It's going to last, in my judgment, until people recognize and realize that there's an emergency and that people voluntarily conserve electricity and cut off lights that are not needed, and electrical appliances are not needed, and display lights that are not needed, because evidently it hasn't brought the 20% reduction as expected.
We'll be monitoring it very closely, and if we can begin to get coal supplies again, and as we begin to get our inventories built, then we'll start phasing back out. But we have no way of knowing that at this time.
Unless this works as it should, and in view of most people that I can talk with, it's going to be a long time before there's any coal being mined. Unless this works, unless people themselves want to voluntarily conserve, we're going to be without electricity in this state in the not too distant future. It all depends upon the public. And I know that many of us do not believe that there's any crisis, but there actually is a crisis. And therefore, you have to have coal to generate electricity in this state, with the exception of a nuclear plant at Farley, which is one. But other than that, the only way you do is, of course, hydroelectric power, and they've drawn down, as I understand, in every facility involving a hydroelectric dam. They've drawn down the water till about as low as they can get. They've used all of that that they can, and therefore the coal's going down. So the water's gone down, the coal's gone down, that's been used, and when that is out, you're out of electricity.
There are indications tonight that the governor may have gone further with the implementation of the next phase than Alabama Power Company had intended at this time. Following the news conference, Alabama Power Company in Birmingham issued a statement saying the situation is looking better, that some coal was being delivered in the state and supplies were holding at the 43-day level. Alabama Power's statement, sent around the state by teletype late this afternoon, said the next phase of mandatory cutbacks could come on the 23rd, but the governor had said next week. Gary Cavanis of Alabama Power Company explains the confusion.
What we had basically was just a matter of timing here today. Actually, the coal supply, as we see it dwindling away at Alabama Power Company, is in number of days of burned coal that we have left, slightly better than we expected it to be a week or so ago. We expected the weather not to be quite as moderate as it has. Quite possibly we've had some extra hydro generation from the recent rainfall and so forth. But the governor and the power company and the PSC all recognize that the coal situation is going to get a whole lot worse before it gets any better. Now, our original order from the Public Service Commission was issued on February the 16th. At that time, we fully believed that the settlement of the strike was likely in just a matter of days. Obviously, sitting here tonight, we see no settlement in the immediate future, and we know that even though we have 43 days of burn, of coal left at the expected rate of burn, that it's going to get considerably worse before it gets better. So the governor's smart. He knows that the time to start conserving is now, even though it will be painful. It's better to do it in small increments than get to a situation which we could encounter if we just really were down to our last few days.
The benefits of borrowing from First Alabama. Loan officers who understand the home improvement needs of a growing family.
Aww.
Loan officers who make van loans as easily as car loans. And loan officers who know what it means to have your own boat. When you need a loan, come to First Alabama Bank. We'll make you say, ah.
Behold Ortega, the greatest selling taco shell on earth. In an actual taste test with the second leading national brand, more people like the taste of Ortega. Like that crisp corn flavor, eh? Watch out! Only Ortega has this exclusive inner tray. It cushions the shells and really cuts down on broken shells. Helps keep in that fresh corn flavor. So, for a better box of taco shells, better buy Ortega.
Marge, we don't know a thing about the schools there.
Philadelphia is a leading educational center. There are 197 elementary schools, 15 middle schools, and 22 high schools.
How do you know all that?
I read the Beacon's survival guide. It tells you all about the city you're moving to. Sweet dreams, Irwin.
Marge?
I have a headache, Irwin.
What am I going to do about what now?
Are you going to do anything to try to convince coal miners to go back to work in North Alabama?
There's nothing I can do, and that's a matter of their discretion. And have you got a plan that you can get anybody to work that don't want to work?
Governor, are these...
No, in the first place, the state of Alabama has no authority regarding people going back to work. And as far as I'm concerned, I hope that a contract that both sides can agree to will come about in the not-too-distant future.
You'd have to ask Mr. Carter and people who are much closer to it than I, but we're all hopeful that this will soon be over and that there'll be a contract that both the operators and the miners can live with, and it'll relieve a lot of anxiety in this nation, I can tell you that.
My firm belief and my firm commitment is that the Taft-Hartley Act will be enforced, that this will be adequate to assure supplies of coal to our country to avoid an additional crisis, and that it will also be an adequate incentive to bring the bargaining parties back to the negotiating table for a successful resolution. I have absolutely no plans to seek congressional action authorizing seizure of the coal mines.
Governor, are these the 2-hour blackouts, rotating blackouts, are they going to be during the daytime, or will they come with anywhere within 24-hour period?
During the daytime, during the light hours, but they'll be staggered, and you will never know when they're coming.
So it'll be during the day, during the peak.
That's right.
Peak.
What is the purpose of not letting people know when they're coming?
Well, for the simple reason that we feel that it's not in the interest of the general public, except those who have the matter of health involvement, such as dialysis machines and such as iron lungs. They will be ferreted out, and already are being ferreted out and notified, for the simple reason that it affects them, and we're not going to do anything that affects the safety and health and security of people. But we also, if we had the at night blackouts, we wouldn't tell anybody when because of obvious reasons.
Is this going to affect radio and television stations also? Just cut back blackouts?
Unless they have emergency generators. I think there's some technical problems and also not being able to coordinate the timing too.
Yes, we can't. There's no way that with our distribution system constructed like it is, there's no way that we can tell you when you'll be off. We just don't have the feeders laid out that way. Our system's not built. I don't know of any utility that has that, where we could say that, Ted, you'd be off from 8 to 10 and someone else another time around. But they'll be on a rotating basis and hopefully not over 2 hours at a time.
You mean all of a sudden the radio and TV stations are going to go off?
No, I didn't say radio and TV. We're talking about now the rotating blackouts for the principally residential probably small commercial that might be involved.
What about elevators and traffic lights and things like that?
We, except in the small communities where we can't isolate those, we do not anticipate in bigger urban areas like Montgomery, Birmingham, Mobile, and the bigger cities that we'll be cutting off the downtown area, the street lighting and so forth, traffic lights and so forth. We don't anticipate cutting those off at this point. And therefore, the news media, I wouldn't think your printing presses and all that.
So you're going to leave the downtown commercial areas on and cut off the residents?
That's the principle. Now, the downtown areas, we're asking them for the mandatory 20% cutback. All commercial businesses.
Mr. Cavanagh, the obvious question is, when will the power blackouts begin?
Bob, that will be determined tomorrow. There will be a meeting of the Alabama Public Service Commission with the producers or providers of power from across the state. We believe tonight this will include not only Alabama Power Company, but the Alabama Rural Electric Cooperatives and TVA authorities, anyone who's involved in the production and distribution of power in the state. These questions will have to be answered tomorrow, and I'm sorry I can't give you that straight an answer tonight.
Really no better way to protect your car than with Alabama Farm Bureau insurance. Alabama owned and operated. From 139 Alabama Farm Bureau service centers, they take pride in offering car owners the best combination of service, protection, and savings. Farm Bureau's service offers you fast, convenient claims payment. And it's good to know that with Farm Bureau, your premium dollar stays right here, helping build a better Alabama. Insure with Farm Bureau. Your neighbor does.
Bank quiz. Since federal agencies regulate interest rates, loan policies, and in fact all banking services, aren't all banks pretty much alike? Well, more or less. But Exchange National is growing twice as fast as any other Montgomery bank. Why? Because we're the locally owned bank that treats customers like our success depended on it. Come see for yourself at any office of Exchange National, the Success Bank.
Astronaut Stephen West was returning from outer space. But something terrible had happened.
His mind is so completely decomposed.
We've got to find him. Stephen West had turned into the Incredible Melting Man. The Incredible Melting Man is the first new horror creature. Come prepared. Rated R.
Starts Friday at the Martin and Empire and next week at the Cahaba in Selma.
What do the people who will be directly affected think about the cutbacks? We asked legislators and people at random in Montgomery.
We're in a crisis situation. I don't think people really understand fully that we have reached the point that some rather strong, drastic action is going to have to be taken, and whatever action the governor proposes in addition to what he's already proposed, I'll support.
To randomly, without any notice, withdraw power from the citizen, I don't think that's fair to the citizen.
There's going to have to be some sacrifices made from most everybody, and it's just one of those facts of life you have to face.
Well, I was surprised to hear that we had moved up Phase 3 so quickly when I heard earlier that we had 45-day cold levels being maintained. The warm weather's on us. I didn't realize it was so critical. That's my initial reaction. My second comment would be, it seems like we could alternate cutting down street lights and such things as this and maintain the safety of the neighborhoods without resorting to blackouts at this particular point.
Well, I don't think that would be very good to cut it off, without us not giving any notice at all. I think we should know.
Well, I think that it's a necessity and it can't be helped, but I think that they should let the public know when they're going to black out.
It doesn't sound like too good of an idea. I just got a letter at my store, and it said that the store is going to be open from 12 to 9 instead of from 10 to 9. It's going to cut out 2 hours of business, and it's going to be pretty bad on us, pretty rough.
I think the only solution to it is we get the people back mining coal and get the coal supply back up. And it is a very complicated and complex problem, and I'm sure the governor and his staff and the people that's been working with him are doing the best they can to solve it.
The fact that the voluntary cutoffs have not worked, I think, is an indication that people either feel they're not necessary or they feel that it is an imposition upon them because of the coal strike. So I personally do not like it.
I can't see of a union closing the state down.
Well, I think there should be a blackout if there's a shortage of energy, because you have to conserve what you burn up. So a lot of people don't conserve the amount of energy, just be wasteful. They're just very wasteful. So you see, there has to be a balance between the intake and the outtake of energy.
I don't think it would be a very good idea if they cut the power off and the people are not aware that it's going to be cut off.
Well, my reaction is probably the same reaction that the people of Alabama are going to have when they hear about it, and I'm sure they probably already have. I think that their reaction first is going to be, my goodness, do we have to do this? Why should we do this? But after that initial shock, I have confidence that the people of Alabama will accept it and go ahead and have the mandatory 2-hour blackout. It's going to be inconvenient. It's going to cause some inconveniences throughout the state in the area that is existing at that time. But I believe that they will rise to the occasion and go ahead and follow the governor's request, because it's a must.
I don't really believe it's going to be no blackout, just something they're saying, you know, make prices go up on your gas and electricity bill and stuff like that.
Well, I certainly am in favor of any plan which will be the least disruptive of the industrial and business process in our state. I believe that the people of Alabama, and particularly Elmore County that I represent, would much rather make some sacrifices at the residential level than in having many people to lose their jobs or be laid off. And I would encourage the people of Alabama to cooperate with the governor and the power company in doing whatever necessary to keep the economic impact of the coal crisis that we have to the very minimum possible.
Unless this works as it should, and in view of most people that I can talk with, it's going to be a long time before there's any coal being mined. Unless this works, unless people themselves want to voluntarily conserve, we're going to be without electricity in this state in the not-too-distant future.
So at this point in time, people in Alabama are still confused as to what will happen next week or on March 23rd. Many of these questions will be answered tomorrow when Governor George Wallace meets with the PSC and the power company.
This has been a WSFA TV News special report. Power, the shocking shortage. Portions pre-recorded.
Tonight, how about an exciting change of taste?
Okay.
Italian dishes American style, featuring your favorite Italian recipes and cheese made in the USA.
Oh?
Like spaghetticelli, lots of spaghetti, lots of cheddar cheese. Or pizza Americano, topped with cheddar and provolone. Look for free recipes.